Hi there, welcome to the Jenn Hayward Show. Today we talk about connections, as always on Connect TV. I'll be talking about connections in wrestling because I went to my first wrestling. This is great that my dog decided now was the time to make noise. Anyway, and we'll be talking to a good friend of mine, Raven. We'll be talking about connections and kindness. All that on the Jenn Hayward Show, but first, nope, I can't find my thing. So I was going to put on, there it is. Yes, all coming up. One moment. Okay, no time for the whole thing. I realize that's not even the right one. So anyone who knows me personally knows I'm really big on connections, always have been. And sometimes I don't understand what's happened in the last bit of my life. As everyone who knows me knows, it hasn't been a good year. I am one thing away from a country music song, one life event, and George Strait will write a song about it. And that's a little sad that I know who George Strait is. I was going into my arsenal of my dad's old not records, 8-tracks. That's right. We had an 8-track machine growing up. I remember because I had the Pollyanna soundtrack. Oh my God, I'm a nerd. So today we're talking about connections. Now, I always talk, so anyone who knows Adventure Seeker Sarah, Fridays here on Connect TV, is really big into connections. And I'm always like, yeah, that means something. Yeah, that means something. And but so many times in the last little bit, I can't even deny it's happening to me. And I was like, oh, because I'm listening to the universe, because the more trauma I've shed, the more I listen. So I'm becoming less funny. So that's a problem. But I'm becoming a better person, which is also a problem. Because then I have, like, I remember when I weighed 400 pounds and had severe mental health problems. And I'll tell you, no one expected anything from me. Nothing, right? I wake up, I don't die. Everyone's high five, Jim, way to go. And now it's like, oof, expectations. But I kid. It's nice to be happy. So I had one. Oh my God, Joey, can you come and get that from him? My dog is chewing something noisy up. Oh, so that happened today in a weird way. So I'm planning an event. So the Jenn Hayward Show is going live in August. We're just looking for a venue. And we're going to do one show before I head off to Zambia for a couple of months. And as we were talking about it, looking at different ways, Sarah said she had a contact at this place. And I was like, I have these contacts. So we divided our list up. Then later in the day, someone kept liking a lot of my photos. I didn't actually assess that they're ones that Sarah was tagged into. And I realized we were same friends. Now, we just came from a wrestling match with a couple of other people on Saturday. So I kind of thought, because the pictures were wrestling related, that he was a wrestler. I knew I was talking about it on my show, and I wanted to reach out to the person if they're a wrestler, see if they wanted to join or talk about it, or at least watch it. Well, the guy said, I said, can you tell me a bit more what you do? Let's chat. And he says, sure, let's chat tonight. I said, excellent. So then I go to Sarah and I say, do you know so-and-so? They're a mutual friend of yours. And I reached out to them, and I never reach out and cold anyone. I don't like to talk to people. Like, I do. Obviously, I'm about to interview someone. That's nice. I hate talking to people, this stupid talk show. Anyway, so then Sarah's like, call me now. And I was like, oh no, this guy's going to be crazy or something. No, he's one of the people on her list she just met that she was supposed to talk to about this venue. And I was like, is the universe now micromanaging our schedules? Like, did the universal creator see who she was supposed to call and who I was supposed to call, and then maneuvered its way? So now I'm talking to this guy. It was just like one of those funny things. And then on Saturday, another one of these weird connection things. Now, I'm sitting next to Santa at a wrestling ring, so life is feeling a little surreal as it is. But Sarah and I are managing, and our talent managing that TikTok account for a guy who plays Santa, and he's really funny. So we've been having such a hoot with all of the videos and content we've created, but it's been a bigger thing. I originally did this for the humor. It's funny. It's Santa. Like, let's do this. The guy's nice, but let's do this. But when I see the impact him, and that anyone can wear a suit, but not everyone can be a good person. He has made people's lives everywhere he goes in this suit. And I was like, wow. So anyway, we're at wrestling together and he's there. And I tell him, I used to have a joke about Santa. It was a very silly joke. And I started to tell him the joke. And then I said, okay, I'm about to say something that you're going to actually want proof now that I wrote this joke, because it was about Santa in a wrestling ring. And I wrote this in 2013. Thank God Sarah heard it. She remembers me telling her this joke. And the whole thing, it was just like this interconnected. And I said, well, this is a sign from the universe. I'm either supposed to reinvent that joke, or Santa's supposed to be in wrestling. And Nick, who is playing, he just looks over at me and goes, it's definitely you doing the joke. He's not going to wrestle. So I thought that was funny. So listen, I'm open universe. I'm here to hear things, even Connect TV. I wanted to quit a few times. I don't have the time, the bandwidth. Life has been hard. And we kept it on, and now it's serving a bigger purpose for a lot of people. And we'll be talking about that next week. But I'm going to show you. I went to wrestling. Now, obviously, wrestling's not my thing, although I did watch, and I had a huge crush on Miss Elizabeth growing up, and Bret Hart, but mostly Miss Elizabeth. She's dead now, so that's sad. But they all did a lot of drugs and stuff, I bet. So that's a nice segue. We're going to talk about connections, all these good things. Drug overdose. All right, focus, Hayward. I'm going to turn my actual Facebook off because it's blinking, and I'm like, oh, attention. I went, my friend was sponsoring the event, and I said, why not? I want to get some footage for this Santa thing. I had a lot of fun. Listen, now, do I think it's like the stupidest thing I've ever seen? Absolutely. But so stupid, it was funny. And I started thinking, like, look at all these people just yelling and getting every aggression they have in the world and focusing it on this one person who's being paid to be insulted. And the better they do their job, the more yelling. And I was like, what a great relationship. Just to go and yell, because if I do that at home, people call CIS. It's a good joke. But seriously, we will be talking about UCAS later today. So right now, I'm going to show you the video. I'll stop it a couple times to just tell you that, listen, life is about trying new things. At first I was like, and then I remember the turning point when you just changed. I said, this is going to be fun. I may never do it again. Actually, I might go again because it was fun. And I'll tell you a little bit about it, but I want to get to my main guest who's in the green room right now. So I'm going to show you my little video. There's no music. That's right. It's just, okay. So these are photos of wrestlers. This guy, though, I got to say, I must have a thing for douchebag kind of guys because that's his whole persona. But he's like called The Package or something like that. Listen, I'm not good with names. And I think there's another picture of him later on. He's got anyway, he really focuses on his manhood. But I really was like, woohoo, I think he's cute. All right. So let's do that. Okay, you can go. Yeah, that's him. Oh, good. It cut off his junk. So that's Santa, Saint Nick Allen. Okay. And that's the lady wrestler my husband's in love with now. He didn't even attend the show because he's in Nova Scotia, but that's a werewolf. Like, we're talking silly here. Okay. A werewolf and Santa. Oh, the same one, because I wanted my husband to really see her. She's really good looking. That's another wrestler. And I couldn't even tell you. He's standing on the thing. Okay. These guys, they're called the Dad Bod Squad. How funny is that? Okay, I need to stop. I need to stop for a second. I need to tell you one more time. Look at this picture. Okay, hang on. That was the last match of the night. And I like this. First of all, it was the female match was the main attraction, but it was a toy match. So they have to chuck toys at each other. Now, we did not know this going in, and we were sitting there with a Santa Claus. Like, can you imagine how funny? They just kept coming. Everyone's chanting Santa. It was great. But they had a model like an old Millennium Falcon. Okay. I need to remind you, I am at a wrestling event. So if you think about the general demographic, there's kind of some nerdy tendencies, etc. And the lady she took the Millennium Falcon and she was going to throw it like at the lady, and that's what everyone expected, but she didn't. And what she did was so badass. She just took it and she threw it out of the ring on the ground. And I'll go back Hang on. Right there. That's the Millennium Falcon. And the funny part of all that was all the geeks in the audience were like, you would have think someone died. Like, no. And they're screaming and they're like, literally, they know the value of this toy. And oh my God. And I have to say, it was the funniest thing, because even I was like, you shouldn't do that. My husband should assess that before you throw it away. But the way she did it, and this vaudeville kind of performance, was just like my dog would do to the other dog. Like, he'll put his toy right in front of him and just say, yeah, come and get it, bitch. So it was just an adorable thing. Okay, let me finish this. So yes, the Millennium Falcon. There's a lady right here. I keep coming back. That's the other one. Like, look at that. Okay, another thing. Referees, they come out and everyone's booing them. Why are referees the bad people? They keep law and order in the ring and everyone booed them. I didn't like that. And I don't think beating up the referee was very nice. So I didn't do a fancy video because it was wrestling, and it's not what I do as much, but I had fun. And thank you to Interspecies Wrestling for having us, Adventure Seeker Sarah for sponsoring their event. And you know what? I like to experience new things. So I don't know if I'll go far away. It was in Gaganaki. I will go if it's in Ottawa. And I'll go again. I'll go again, and I'll actually record more content and be like, yeah, maybe I could be a wrestler. All right. So I'm going to get out of mania mode and I'm going to explain who I'm bringing on and why I'm bringing her on, and then I'll bring her on. Okay. So to preamble all this, I've known this woman for years and years, and I've known her. Actually, I thought about it after, and I'll come back to that. Hopefully she'll remind me to come back to that. Is how we met was her son was in my comedy confidence course that I did years ago. And the only reason I did that is because I lost my job. So I need to think about that, hold that thought. But that's how I met this lovely family. And we've been friends over the years. She worked for me for a bit. I've helped her with this. She helps me a lot with different things and my kids. And a lot of life is going on. And a lot of things, as I mentioned, happened to me this year. And one was, unfortunately, my daughter moved out in a not good situation. And it was very, I would say, traumatizing to me would be fair. But you got to recover. And listen, if I was perfect at age 18, someone kicked me, right? So she's on her path. And it was just me and my son and my husband for now. My other son lives already on his own. And then we are just in our weird life of bankruptcy and things like that. And I'm just in and out of like crying. I'm like, okay, I am done being a mom right now for now. I'm very tired. Adopted higher needs kids from foster care. I love them all, but I just need to spend some time now just healing and resting and moving forward with my life and being there when they need me. So I'm in Cleveland, which is a weird place to just be. But I was following my husband around on his work trip, and my friend Raven got, she doesn't get mad, but she got screwed over by someone. And if you're watching, I don't like that. So, but she got screwed over in a situation, and she has been tired. She's been fighting for a long time, burnout and different things, and just really doing what you can to provide a life for your family. And anyone who knows, it's virtually impossible, to on the wages that even I paid her when I did that. I could only pay her. Housing has gone up so much. She could only have a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 kids. Of different ages, and it's a rough situation to be in. So she was experiencing burnout, and she reached out to me and she said, Jen, I need help and I don't know what to do. And at first I was like, we can't help you. We can't help you. Our house it's just our time now. And it was just like, she wasn't even asking anything, but my immediate gut response, because I was so filled with trauma. But then I remember, no, wait. That's not asset-based community development. Asset-based community development, which I try and practice, is using all of the resources to help solve problems with each other, like help each other solve problems. So I said, well, listen, my room, we have an extra room. That's not a problem. okay, at all. So he could stay, but I can't parent anyone. And I can't right now. I have too much energy, that sort of thing. So, okay, that would work fine. I'll parent him from here. He could stay there. We all get the space we need. And then my son is here and he'll be like the monitor and make sure that he follows through with things. And it just has kind of worked out in a weird way. And so I'm bringing on Raven to talk about that. It takes a lot of bravery for also her to come and talk about this. And the reason we want to talk about it is because we want to talk about ABCD, asset-based community development, but we want to talk about kindness versus niceness. So Raven, hello.
Hello, my dear friend. How's it going?
It's going good with great lighting, by the way. You look like just a ravishing goddess, and I look like I'm in front of the window. Yeah. Well, first of all, you're recovering from emergency surgery, so thanks for being here.
Yeah, it hasn't even been, so this was at 2 a.m. that they wheeled me into the OR. So it has not even been 24 hours yet, but here I am.
That's right. Fresh off the...
Yeah, exactly. Fresh out of the operating room.
I don't know. Yeah. So we won't go into surgery and what it was, but that I'm really glad, although we don't have the best healthcare system here, you got some help.
I'm so grateful, honestly. I've lived in the States, I've lived here, and this system, although it's not perfect, it saved my life last night. So
yeah, and that's it. And and it's speaking and advocating, and we might come back to that again because I think we should do a sister kind of show anyway.
Yeah.
But so we want to talk about this. So basically, your son, we'll call him A, he came to live with us. And so I came back from Cleveland and he was here. Now, the funny thing that is I thought he was 17 and I don't know where I got that. I thought he was a year younger than my daughter. So I was like, oh crap, there's a 15-year-old in my house. I better put clothes on. No, I would have done that with a 17-year-old. Wait, that sounds wrong. I was just trying to go for the joke. But the reality is it provided immediate respite for you because, and I have been there and my son and I did not get along and we didn't have anyone helping us beyond CIS. And that did not go well, CIS, because you're the ones who screwed up these kids to start with beyond their birth parents. And I'll say that because I mean it. You really screwed up CIS. If you ever want someone to give you feedback on how to improve your business, I'll do it. But smiling. No, it's not the individual workers, guys. It's the system. So, because that is the general option. If you don't have kin, which is family, and you're needing some kind of break from because you're a single mom, you're doing all this stuff, the only option seems to be foster care. Would that be correct?
That is correct. And it's really wild to me that we've been pushed into this sort of situation where it becomes normal for people like in positions of authority with CAS or whatever, the teachers in school to call CAS rather than to turn to community members and try to, support one another and collaborate and figure out solutions in that manner,
Well, absolutely. It's like, okay, well, your choices are now your kids go to strangers or that's it. And this is an interesting case too, because he's going to the school where my kids went and one dropped out of and one was kicked out. And so they're well aware of who the Haywards are. And they know so they called us actually before they called CAS and they're like, what's going on? And we said it exactly like this. The mom is having some time that she just needs some time to herself. We're all doing a good job. We're just being a community here. And they still called CS because that's their mandate. And that's the sad part. And CS, of course, wanted to make sure you were okay, which is good. They did check in on you.
And, the worker and the worker's manager, to my understanding, actually expressed their idea. Like they said, this is a little bit ridiculous. Like, this case should not be open. But anyway.
Well, exactly. And like, we're not doing this show to say the Haywards are great because Raven would do something creative if she was helping. And this is not one of those situations because my life is not. And Raven is, we don't do life on a payback system. We do it on a pay it forward system. I have lots of people who have helped me out. You've had, we help you, you help others. It's just how it works. And if we spent all of our time, and there's a word I wish I had studied before here, but my friend in Kenya would say, Bernadette, where it's basically everything just works out in the end. So for her and I, it was always about money, right? So, I mean, because a shilling is worth of this, or, when we're out, she'll treat me to a little bit, I'll treat her to more. And of course, we're going to spend more money here because we have the capacity to make more here, right? And those sorts of things. So it's kind of like the same thing. But if we spend our whole life counting who owes us, well, that's not a nice way to live, and so what we did was, okay, how do we help Raven, but be kind about our own boundaries as well? And I think people don't look at that because they look at that yes or no model. And it's like, yes, I mean, and it would have been a firm no if those are my only options. Oh, I get to raise another kid. No, I love you, love your kid, but no.
Not interested.
Yeah. And this had a lot of unintentional benefits. So for the first one, my son, who has definitely been struggling, like what 19-year-old was not struggling, going into COVID. And, he's really slowly been overcoming his own mental health, but he actually has a better reason to get up every day. He will drag your kid out of bed and make him walk the dog, right? So for him, like it's just a one responsibility that he's like, okay, because he also recognizes that part of this, like he has to take a part of it. Otherwise I'm doing that and I don't want to do that, right? So what he's doing is actually bolstered his self-esteem. It's given him a good view to the way our relationship has been, and the pit bull approach that I take sometimes, and why I take it, and when you take it, and we both said if we had someone who could have given us proper respite back in the day, it might have helped. But we didn't have that kind of thing either. We had people who ended up taking the kids, but it was too late by then. I mean, just for a weekend here, it was because they were doing something very bad, ran away, whatever the case may be. But back when, if someone
rather than proactive,
yeah. And we are not any better than anyone else, and we're certainly not well off. We are going through a bankruptcy right now, right? But you do what you can to help who you can when you can, in a kind way. So a nice way, if Raven had messaged me and said, "Hey, I need help," I'd be like, "Oh, well, to be nice, I'm going to give you a little money and wish you well and thank you." Or just, "Okay, well, I can't help you, but and it's okay." But we found a kind way to do it because kindness takes intentionality. Niceness is too much like charity to me. It's just like I'm going to make this go away. And I certainly could have done that, right? Absolutely could have just, "Okay, I'll help you," or "I'm not going to help you." And I have said no to many, many things and people because I'm listening to the universe where I'm supposed to help. So I want to say that don't be a pushover and just take everything, but if someone comes to you for help, don't just say yes or no. I mean, you can, but to have a deeper connection, you'll always know somewhere you can send. So I want to park that and just check in with Raven, how you're doing on this conversation. It's a rough thing and how you're doing. And I want to come back to what I just said. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm just fine. And thank you so much for checking in. I appreciate your kindness and thoughtfulness in that regard. But I'm doing good.
Okay, excellent. Well, like she was in the hospital yesterday, and this is another example of boundaries. And I was like, I can't, like, do you know what I mean? Like I looked at the risk reward and I said, "I love you. Text me if you need me, but I'm not going in the hospital. I'm not risking my own."
Oh, no.
Well, yeah. And it was just like, but that's the thing. Like, I was like, when I go for surgery, I used to be like, I want everyone waiting for me when I'm done. But now that I'm old and I've gone through surgeries, I'm like, what is the point to being here? I'm just grumpy and I have my phone. I can just text you, go away, get away from the germs. Right. But that intentionality is harder to find. Like, so to be kind is too. So I'm going to state an example of an opportunity that I had to do this. I know you've had many times. So it was one of those unfortunate. I'm driving by a house. It's near my other friend's house. And a man very angrily is kicking a car and screaming obscenities at his girlfriend. So we're witnessing abuse. We stop because that's what you do. Well, there's two of us. And another car stopped. And it was very interesting to see how we both converged. They were out first and they went right after the guy. And they went very machismo, don't hurt a woman. And that's fine. Good for you guys for stopping, right? They chased him away and then they drove away. We got out, and it was my son, actually. It wasn't me. My son who got out and started talking to the woman. And he said, like, "Are you okay?" And then he actually caught on to the language she was using. "I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have gotten upset." And he got upset at me. And, "I've troubled you guys." And she was very apologetic about having just been abused. So my son called. He's like, "That is not your fault. You got to change your language." So I was really proud that I raised a little feminist that way. But what we did was we said, okay, so who do you have for supports around here? We checked in. We said, okay, resources. Now, because I was near my friend's house and she was out in Nova Scotia, I said, this is what happened at this address. Do you know anyone in the neighborhood who can go check in on her later? And she's like, yes, I'm on it. I know these people. And we're talking a 2-minute conversation. We were able to make sure that we walked away from a situation being kind, to make sure she had a little additional support, but not taking it on ourselves. Because I've done that where you just say yes to everything and then you hate everyone, and I'm not helpful to anyone, right? I literally collapsed at my workplace and people stepped over me because they were worried about deliverables, right? So to be kind is that small thing. And I've seen Raven do it at any time. Like I've seen her when my daughter left, Raven was the first one to reach out to her in a not your mom sent you kind of way, right? Because it was really clear who I sent because she blocked them right away. But Raven was just like, hey, and you even offered for her to come stay with you, which she changed her mind. And again, she's going through all of these stuff in Raven's life, and she did that too. And so, Raven, like, how would you define the difference between nice and kind?
There is such a profound difference between niceness and kindness, and it's something that I think about on a pretty regular basis, probably daily. I think that niceness is highly superficial and doesn't. It stops at the surface, full stop. And kindness is what delves below, goes deeper, gets to the heart of the need and addresses that need. That's what kindness is. I think niceness is what looks at the surface and appreciates only the surface, and kindness is what sees and addresses the real below.
I'd say so. And I think nice is more of a societal standard, right? Because I think sometimes to be kind, you have to not be nice, right? Like to be nice would be like when I was at my worst mental health, it was nice that people would help me. And it was nice that people would say compliments or different things. But kindness was someone saying, how are we going to help you through this? How are we going to stop this behavior from happening? How are we going to
care about not about, it's not always about solving the problem per se, but
being a connection, that small connection at that moment in time.
Starting on the path toward the solution. Yeah.
Well, it is. And they may not even be receptive. And that's okay too. Because kindness, I think, is that is you're doing the best you can in that situation, but it is about that connection. I feel that's different. Like you said, the surface level of niceness, the expectation of niceness. You can still be kind and say something not nice. Like, I'm really sorry that you're going through this. I will not accept this behavior in my life anymore. Here are some resources for you. When you're feeling better, when you have had some time in recovery, say it was addictions, let me know. But right now, I cannot have this in my life. But it's certainly a nicer, it's a kinder way than just blocking people, which is kind of what I do.
That's boundaries and kindness. Understand
boundaries is kindness, but so many of us with trauma, we weren't taught boundaries, right? We were taught not to speak up, and then didn't feel heard or understood. So then we talk so much, but we're not talking, like there's lots of different traumas out there. And so we just wanted to today, closing up, to be able to give this example as one example. And again, this is not the Haywards are nice, because most people will look at us like we're crazy, because we are, but we really believe in this. And because like your son at our house is still part of a larger network, right? Like I already messaged, I haven't even told you this. I messaged my friend Sarah and I said, can you send me the best resources to assess his math? Because he's like, no, I'm just not good at math. I said, well, what level are you at? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, welcome to the Hayward house. We're about to find out. Because I think, and all these things, and just help out until you're ready and in a place. And he, like I said, he can stay here as long as he wants. When I was like, yeah, it's a really tight, month or whatever, I would just go to you and say, could you help with groceries a bit? But we don't need CAS's involvement to help a family out. This is the preemptive stuff that we should all be doing. What can we do? If you see someone yelling at their kid in public, that doesn't mean she's a bad mom. It means she's stressed out to the max. How could you better? So, we had that happen. Someone phoned CAS on my husband. And I was like, are you kidding me on this? Like, it was we were still in like the first month of adoption. He was home with 3 high needs kids while I was at work. 2 of them walk, and he would walk them, but it's down. You could see the bus stop from our house to catch the bus. and they'd all walk together. But my eldest was puking in the bathroom because that's what he used to do for fun. And so he had to deal with that. I wasn't no. He's like, you guys go there, whatever. He goes, he sees the bus go by, no kids there. He assumes it's good. The kids hit. Okay. So some lady then goes and finds them because they're like hiding from the bus, like cute little kids. And she says, where do you live? Now, my boy has a speech delay. So he said Canada. Not helpful because he could have just pointed to our house and said there. Okay. So she called CIS, and when my husband came out, instead of offering any kindness, how did this happen? Could I help you? She screamed, you effing this, you. And I was like, well, that's helpful in front of the kids too. And I realized so many times I'm on the moms groups. I see you, right? I see the judgment back and forth. I'm not going to judge any mom. I won't, because I have been there. I've been at all ends, and I've been kicked out of places because we just ended up being higher needs kids, right? But parenting is one thing, like one area that we just look out for each other a little bit more. You know, it doesn't.
Absolutely, yes.
And it doesn't have to be at this level, right? Like, had I been really listening and been a different place, you know, or earlier, had you known, oh, things aren't going well, you know, we would have started earlier, but it happened at exactly the time. So it wasn't that Jen was meant to do this. It's my life lined up at the exact time that her need was there. We figured out a way, and it had unintentional benefits to my eldest son to give him, because he is a caretaker. And I keep trying to tell him, but the school system kept trying to tell him he needs to go into trades. I said, he is a caretaker. I know this. You've met him. He is a caretaker.
Born social worker, I think, but.
Oh, absolutely. Like, well, he said, oh, that'd be nice to help some youth. I said, excellent. You know, that is what you'll be good at when you've overcome what you're going through. I said, not today, but you're going to work towards it, because you are, you know, he has more nurture than I do. Like, I was a social worker, right? So he's a very nurturing person. So that's the thing. I'm not saying whenever you're kind, unintentional, but the universe kind of aligns itself. And it doesn't mean you're going to get what you want in life. It just means you help out. And there might be a day where I'm like, blah, blah, blah. You know, like I got to get the kid a screen because the dog keeps opening my door and I sleep naked. So, I mean, I have a blanket on, but it's just the risk of your kid seeing something that's going to scar them for life is there unless I fix it. So,
a curtain of some kind. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's what I told them, and they didn't do it. So definitely we'll make that a priority, but it's just little things, because in the end, and it's exactly the same thing. That's how we work with our friends. You'll be hearing more about the Santa Project later. But basically, once you start listening to the universe, you realize everything is connected. Nothing that we're doing with Raven is charity. It's just being a community, that literally a village to raise a child. I'm a part of it in a very small way, you know. It's just, and frankly, if we could also go back to it, is if you are making a huge profit off your investment properties, there are families that are splitting up because they don't have places to live. So I'm all for, you know, capitalism, go make your money, but you have to look at, if you're just raising it because the market rates are up, because you need more Starbucks, and I'm not going to shame you for it, because I like money too, but I am saying, you know, consider the families that can only afford a 1-bedroom apartment. The last 2 years, things have skyrocketed to ridiculous levels in this city. And I'm hearing time and time again. And you tell me how a family with an 8-year-old and a 15-year-old are going to cohabitate in that small environment. And if there's any issue, like, that's a definite situation for, you know, for conflict. So let's also, to be kind is to address that. And I'm not calling out landowners or any, I own my house, you know, one day I might charge someone a lot of money. But if you see the opportunity to say, you know what, maybe I don't raise those increases this year because I'm still doing well comparatively. I'm still going to make some money. Why do you need to make more than everybody else? I don't know. So I'm just saying, I sound like a socialist, but that I did just tank $1 million business.
If you're an employer and you have the means, as you've had, you know, I understand most people have not had record-breaking profits this year in the last couple of years, but some industries have. Give your employees a raise, you know, so that they can afford their rent in this city. That's all.
Yeah. I'm going from the system, like, take the system down. But there are people who have, you know, it's just, are they making enough money? And that's where the whole thing. Now, I know I made an error going into business as a socialist. So I was paying wages above. But what happened when everything raised, I couldn't, because I was in an industry. It was a courier industry.
Well, you were paying above the industry standard. You were.
Oh,
So
I know I was, but what I mean is in general. But then the industry standards went up because they
yeah,
raised, which is good. So that's what, like, my Trevor is a comedian who works for me for a bit. He'd be like, well, now you're only paying me $1 above minimum. I said, well, it's because they raised the minimum, and no one will let me raise the prices because no one wants to pay for logistic services. Trust me on that. So anyway, I want to thank Raven, for being a great person, for, trusting us with this. And it's all casual. We're not like, I have a meeting where I make everyone talk about stuff, but I do that in society
super
anyway.
formal every day.
Yeah. No, we don't have a performance review kind of thing. It's like, listen, he's safe and he's evolving and he has more people who care about him in his life. Is that wrong? I don't think so.
More
We didn't
love,
need to,
more, it's better.
it's better. And we didn't need to go through where the whole thing was about assessing the parentage, which is what it all comes down to, assessing whether they can parent or not. And that is not the issue. The issue is burnout, which happens when people are having to raise families alone in this city on lower wages. And two, I forget what the first one was, but the point was, is that we can all do a little better. We wanted to give this, maybe we inspire someone. Maybe my dad phones me after watching this and he's like, what the hell are you doing now, Hayward? I'm kidding. He doesn't watch my show, so don't worry. But it is when people do not understand kindness, because they haven't been given it a lot their life, then they don't know when they recognize it. And that's when people say you're all hippy dippy. I don't say I'm hippy dippy. I say you see an opportunity, and there's opportunities that come to me to do work that I love, and that, and so why not pay things forward?
A need that you're capable of addressing, and you do address it. That is kindness, and I think that's what you've been doing.
And I think that's it, and we're aware, like if it became too much, I'd be like, well, maybe we should get CAS involved so I get money, but that's not why I'm doing this. And beyond that, I don't think it's necessary. There's a good school system. He's got good things. We're following up, there's a team, and that's just for one person. And that's the thing, is like, everyone knows Lyndon. I'm anti to Lyndon. I'm absolutely in love with him. He gives me that. So all this kindness comes from him naturally. I saw him bulldoze over a kid the other day. And, but you know what I saw him do? Oh, he's 2 years old. I'm sorry. And went on with his day. Boom. He's sorry for what he did. He learned from it, but he recognized it pretty darn quickly. And it's just those small acts of kindness that we all make mistakes. But if we sat less judgment of each other and just tried to be kind, and everyone just moves forward best they can without all the negativity, I think we could really do some good things. So I wanted to share that message. I want to thank Raven for being here. Next week, I have no idea what I'm doing because I never plan a week in advance, because sometimes shit like this happens and I see it like, listen, my friend is stuck in a bed. I'm going to make her go on Connect TV. But I want to acknowledge you, Raven, that it takes a lot to come out and say that you had a need and to publicly tell people that, you know what, I was having trouble and I asked for help, and you did.
It's real. I have no shame about it because it's the truth. It's
there
real.
Should be none.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Help somebody else.
I absolutely agree.
That's the real meaning.
And that's what we say. And I'll tell you that we said that to our kids their entire life about their birth parents. Listen, I don't know the circumstances, but I can tell you no one sets out to have their kids and then have them take it away or have problems. That just is not how life goes. So when shit happens, we all be there for each other. And I think it's just a better way to go. So there you go. All right. This week, you have, I think, Barbie's on Thursday, 2:00. You have Josh, that beer thing. So he's out in Halifax. And of course, Adventure Seeker Sarah will likely be talking about connection. She's been on the road with the Santa doing content all week. And I think she said there's 700 little videos I need to go through. Fantastic, Sarah. Raven, thank you so much. You got the last word today.
Connecting with kindness has been an experience.
Excellent. Well, Miigwech, we all love you, and get better, okay? We'll talk very soon. And for everyone else, make sure you floss.